Welcome to Don't Say Adulting,
a podcast by Grotto Network.
hosted by Jane O'Connor
And Mike Rossetti.
It's the show where I ask the questions that I want to know.
And also, I'm here too.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
What's up?
How
are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. How are you, Jen? How are you?
I'm glad you decided to start chewing a piece of gum right before
I'm
this.
not chewing gum. Yeah. Just have like a minty, fresh taste in my mouth, though. It's
Unrelated.
Great. Well, I suppose everything relates back to gum, doesn't it?
Today, though, we're not talking about gums.
No. Well, something.
I guess
yeah.
it's not. They're
Could
unrelated.
they look at your gums?
We should ask if it's related to your gums.
I'll show them mine.
I was asking people, like, fielding questions from the group of what they want to know from our guest today, and they were just like, can you show them a picture of this and ask if this is normal? It was like every single request.
Well, we have two faces here we can just show.
Yeah. If you haven't guessed yet, audience members.
Audience members.
I couldn't think
Thanks
of
for
anything.
joining our audience.
We are going to be talking about skincare.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, the question that arose
With
from this
whom,
episode.
Jan?
Who do you think?
Tell the group. I know. Do they know?
We're going to be talking to a dermatologist,
Thank you.
which is the official term for a doctor who looks at your
Skin.
your derma. I don't know if that's
is
that
Greek,
something
right?
like
Any
that.
ology is a Greek word, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. But
No, it's a fact. Yeah.
it is a fact.
No.
Okay.
Greek root.
Well, the question that brought this up is, should I start a skincare routine? You know, because I feel pretty young, but I feel young. But I feel like most of my female friends all have a pretty involved skincare routine
Do they?
that they follow, and there's like orders to things and times of day, like
Cucumbers
right before
on the
bed.
eyelids.
Yeah, the masks,
You know, the mud.
yeah.
The masks,
What goes first? The water, and then the cream, and then the
chicken or the egg.
Yeah, and then stuff they're putting on in the day. And I've never worried about that. I think I've been very fortunate in that I've never had like a huge acne problem.
Bit of a flex there, Jan.
A little bit of a tiny
Kind
flex,
of putting yourself above.
but I do think there's the disadvantage, which is that I don't pay attention now. You know, like I haven't been forced to reckon with the fact that my skin takes regular damage every day.
You haven't thought about that before?
Not really. Have you?
Yeah, dude. The sun is like annihilating our skin. Yeah.
Do you have a skincare routine?
I wash my face with soap and water, and that soap is. I don't remember the brand. I think a basic. What's like a common face wash brand?
Even washing your face, it seems like you are in the minority slightly.
Hey Kev, what's like the most common? Am I minority? In
Well-
washing your face?
Well, yeah, I was looking it up,
Do you
and
not wash your face?
no, I'm about to read a
Oh,
study. Okay.
Excuse me. Okay. You didn't lay it up to that.
Yeah.
Very well.
Sorry. There was a 2017 study by CeraVe.
Who's she?
It's a skincare company. It's a skincare company.
Mm-hmm.
They conducted a study. I feel like it's a little bit motivated there if they're going to conduct
Well,
it.
let's hear what they.
But it found that nearly about half of Americans, 60% of men and 48% of women, don't regularly wash their face.
What's regular though? Like
I think like nightly was the way the study put it.
I suppose I do mine daily.
Okay.
Like when I shower.
Yeah.
I wash it.
I don't know if this is
Does that count?
It seems like they were really talking about a very specific kind of skincare routine where you have a product, because they were like, oh, and only 68% use soap and water, you know?
Oh, what do other people just do? Water?
Well, I think there's like product that you use and various.
Oh, so they're saying the other 40 uses water?
No, they're
Just
saying
water?
that they don't wash their face.
At
the other
all.
40, yeah.
Hey Kev, did you look that up? my brand.
Was it?
Common. It's not Neutrogena, no, because I know Neutrogena. But I should know the one I use on a daily basis. I honestly meant to.
When did you start using a skincare routine?
Years.
Okay.
I mean, I should know it. I think I'm just tired. Look at me. I look exhausted. I hope I'm wondering if people like, sir, do you think I look tired? You know?
You can chew your gum, by the way. You don't have to.
No, it's stuck to my lip. See that?
Are people listening on Spotify can't see that?
Audience, I just showed mine.
His blue
I
gums.
have a piece of gum under my upper lip.
Yeah, but apparently a lot of Americans don't regularly wash their face. And I wash my face, but I've just never been super concerned with a skincare routine, you know?
I have flare-ups still as a 32-year-old man. So
What's like a regular occurrence, like an annoyance for you on your skin?
my nose breaks out fairly often.
Just like acne and everything?
Yeah, but like they're kind of. I have TMI audience. I have number of blackheads, as I believe they're called. This is a technical term. And then sometimes those get like I don't know if the turns backed up or not. Neutrogena. Go back to the pictures. Oh, aha! No, go down. Cetaphil. Or wait, that blue one. See the picture?
Oh.
Go up. Go up. Down.
I see it. It's to the right,
picture.
right there.
No, but down a little bit more. That one to the right. Cetaphil, right? Is that it? Click it. Click it. No, I'm joking. Not the
now look
kill.
what you've done.
God.
Now we're in a whole article.
Let's
There's
see.
pop-ups.
Glow recipe.
This
rose.
is not fun for our
not me.
listening audience.
Yes, it is. Okay. I use, I think, a standard affordable face wash, but like I just still break out.
Does it like
periodically.
burn or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I've noticed. But I'll tell you what, if I get like a massive breakout on my nose, that hurts and burns, and I'm sick of it. I've been dealing with this since I've been like 12 years old. And it's like, why won't this little old nose just chill out?
So did you start like a skincare routine in your 20s?
I mean, I've been washing my face with a face wash since I was in middle school. But I will say I've never seen a dermatologist.
Well, you're about to see one today.
Earlier this year, though, it was like at one of my events. Like my nose was so bad. I was just like, I'm done with this. I got home at like 11 p.m. I found a dermatologist and I wrote in like, please help me with my nose. And he never got back to me.
I've never seen a
Which I know you can't relate to because you're like, I've never thought about the fact I got skin. You know? You're
No,
like, hey, I just got blessed with this,
No, it's not. It's just like I maybe should be more concerned.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it the largest organ on your body?
It is the largest organ in your body.
We're going to quote that.
I was going to quote that, actually. Don't peek at my notes.
Well, no, Mama didn't need to because I just know.
And I think I've never been concerned because I've never been concerned on a cosmetic level, but there are also medical concerns.
Yes. Well, and I can't remember. My mom's side is all Irish, and I think my mom and my aunts and my grandma and stuff have to get things removed a lot because of the old sun exposure. And
yeah. And I feel like dermatology is such an interesting thing because a lot of people have a skin thing that they look at and they're like, oh. But very rarely do people seek out a dermatologist in a way like they would a dentist maybe for
it's something
cavity.
I kind of think like we should be more just like you should go check it out. I wish I had that more because I still have never seen a dermatologist. I've never even met one, like in my informal life. And
we're about to.
It was groundbreaking.
But apparently this is from the American Academy of Dermatology. 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer at some point in their life. Not like, necessarily deadly, but...
Thanks for keeping it light, Jane.
Well, it's just that I've always never been concerned because I've never been concerned on this cosmetic level. But...
Sorry, I can't get over this. I'm Jane, and I've never been concerned about my skin because it's perfect.
No, I have been concerned.
Okay. Let's not create fake news here. Your name's Jane O'Connor, and you have not been concerned about your skin until this interview.
Not concerned is a little extreme. Actually, recently...
Do you wear sunscreen?
Like when I
go... Oh, my God.
Like regularly or when I go to the beach?
I mean, when you're outside in the sun for a substantial amount of time. It's not like the sun's only at the beach, lady. And I mean, as someone who's never been to Lake Michigan, what beach have you been to?
No, I don't regularly use sunscreen.
Thanks for sharing. Hi, my name's Jane, and I am looking for trouble with this skin here. Might as well be the start of this podcast.
And Jane O'Connor, I don't have any Irish ancestry to worry about. No, I have recently developed these little like cherry moles. Those little. This is maybe TMI.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Come on, I just shared with the group that my nose broke out this year.
But I Googled it. I was like, should I be worried about this?
Is it just a delayed birthmark?
No. They're just like some on my arm and on my forehead. And I looked it up. I was like, should I be concerned? And the top articles were like, they're nothing to worry about. They're super normal once you turn 50. And I was like, I'm 23. I'm not,
man.
and there was no info on 23 worried. Should I be worried at
Did
23?
you add that?
I tried to, but it's just the same stuff. So I could ask him.
Well, today's the day. I mean,
today's the day. We have Dr. Miles Andrew in.
Dr. Miles.
Licensed dermatologist. I hope licensed. I didn't ask. Seems a little...
the presumptuous.
Yeah.
But are you a licensed dermatologist?
Hey, are you allowed to give us
I think
this
anyone that
advice?
has the "ogist" at the end of their title is official, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a license for that, right?
You can't just be out there like...
Yeah.
Given...
Although we are podologists, podcastologists,
Yeah.
which is no
I mean, I have a
official
license.
certification.
Do you?
I'm talking without. Talking without.
Ooh.
My bad.
Talking without a permit?
Ow, wow, wow. I am.
But
Gladly, though. I'm a little rebel rouser. I break
No,
the rules.
he's
No.
legit. He's legit.
Guys, stay tuned.
I mean,
we have a real...
we have a real doctor.
Expert. Yeah, sorry.
He'll be in here. So if you want to hear some real advice from a real doctor, stay tuned. This is
Don't
Say
say.
Adulting. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, welcome back.
We're back.
This is still Don't Say Adulting.
With Jane not putting on sunscreen.
My sunscreenless self, as Mike mentioned. And we are now joined in the studio by Dr. Miles Andrew, dermatologist. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? What it is exactly you do?
Sure, yeah. I've been here in the community for about 30 years, and currently I'm working with South Bend Clinic. I practice dermatology with them. I used to have a practice my own with St. Joe Hospital, and I practice general medical dermatology.
Oh, sorry, I'm just repeating.
So we can ask you anything. We can ask you anything about skin, basically.
Right.
Yes.
And there's sometimes a difference between the niches that some dermatologists get into. So
Yeah.
you have cosmetic dermatologists, you have surgical dermatologists, and those two are normally just like one entity, and then the rest of us are general medical dermatologists.
Okay.
And I do some of my own surgery, but not the real intense surgeries.
So would someone go first to someone like you before you sent them to, if they had needed a major surgery done, for
Exactly.
example? Okay.
Yeah.
And we hyped it up a little bit before the show, but neither of us have ever been to a dermatologist or met a dermatologist before.
Unique?
Yeah.
Are we?
Well,
We're the odd girls out.
We were talking about how we think that people, especially younger people, care a little less. Like if they might notice something, but unlike maybe a cavity, they're not going to immediately seek out a specialist to help them with that. Do you think this is misguided?
I think it's kind of common because most of the people I see are people who have skin problems. And we do a lot of general skin exams, but hardly for younger people. It's mostly people who have already baked in the sun when they were kids, and finally 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, they're paying for the sins of our younger time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is how it kind of came up, is because I just graduated college. I've never really been that concerned with my skin. I've been very lucky.
I've actually had concerns about my skin and just have, frankly, not taken action.
Yeah. And so
Describes life.
And I feel like, I don't know if it's just because all my friends are gals, but a lot of my friends had pretty involved skincare routines. Then they had all this stuff, and it was kind of complicated and overwhelming. And I've looked into it a couple times, but just been like, I can't start buying all these products. So the main question that inspired this episode was, should I start a skincare routine? Me, a 23-year-old. Is that something you would recommend?
I think it would be, right? Because this whole idea that I see all those people who can't change their history. And so all the age spots that people get, a lot of the wrinkles people get are really coming from the sun exposure they got when they were in their teens, early 20s. It's thought that we probably 80% of the radiation exposure we get is before age 35. And if we can avoid that, then we have a better chance that our skin looks younger for a longer period of time, which I think is a lot of people's desire.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot less risk for long-term disease, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking into it before, and there's also the skin cancer element, which apparently pretty common once you start to get old, because everybody's getting baked in that sun.
Right.
Which seems to be both the kind of the common enemy here, but also a source of vitamin D, a bit of a difficult situation.
Right. I mean, I think it's like a lot of things in life that need moderation.
the sun.
Food is important to me,
Yeah.
right? But I eat too much, or if I eat the wrong stuff, then I'm going to end up having both health problems as well as, I don't know, maybe I'm not happy with my body or something. I don't know.
Right.
But sunlight is good for us. Sunlight, too much can be not good for us.
Right.
So what is something small that a young person might encounter in which you would recommend seeking out a specialist and not necessarily brushing off?
Right. I mean, there are some things that happen frequently in younger ages that don't happen in older ages. So a lot of people get things like eczema or psoriasis early in their life. I see a lot of kids for acne, of course. And if minor over-the-counter products aren't really helping with their acne, then that's one reason that a lot of people seek us out, especially if they have acne that looks like it's leaving scars. So there's much more intense things we can do for people.
Okay.
With those kinds of conditions. But a lot of kids with eczema.
I think I'm in that boat. I still, as a 32-year-old man, get just like massive white or just like huge, to be frank, zits on my nose.
Let's call them what they are.
And I don't know why I still get that, even though I like wash my face every day.
That is something I feel like I was told, is that because you deal with acne a lot as a teenager, and then they're like, but then it goes away. But I am still encountering that, and adults seem to.
When
regularly.
you say you're encountering, I mean you're seeing people who happen to.
No,
have
no,
you do.
Every day, like,
Well, when you're like, I've never worried about my skin. I'm just like, I assume Jane. Like,
or when I was a kid, this is sort of a random example, but watching My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
She got that
zit. And she gets that zit.
That was a stress zit, though.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, adults still get it.
Right,
and Windex fixes it. Does Windex have you encountered this
Toothpaste.
before? Do people bring up kind of odd remedies, like home remedies that they have for acne
for
and
acne.
skin?
I mean, they do.
Okay.
they do. And it's funny because even my own kids tell me, hey, toothpaste works. It's like, okay, well, I'll stop bringing home the samples.
Wait, have you found toothpaste to actually work? Is that true? Should I douse my nose in Crest white strips?
Crest or
or about Windex.
Or Windex. Yeah. A lot of things that people bring up must have some roots of effectiveness. And I do have people who swear that things like toothpaste work. So,
or is it just coincidental?
Right? Yeah. And half of medicine is whether or not you really believe that your doctor knows what he's talking about, right? The whole placebo effect. If you don't really think it works, does it really work as well as they think it does?
But you, as a licensed professional, wouldn't sign off on someone going to CVS and,
But so say you did have a 32-year-old man come into your office who's still
maybe his name is Michael.
What would you recommend?
So, and what I would tell you too is that going back to what you guys were talking about previously, and that is that we were always told as kids that if we didn't wash our face, then we were going to get pimples. 90% of us will grow out of our acne by the time we're 25.
Okay.
10% of us don't.
10%.
So Mike, unfortunately, you're in one of those 10%.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because you didn't wash your face.
Right.
It's because there's such a genetic component to it.
Okay.
Oftentimes the kids are coming in and say, well, when am I going to grow out of this? When can I get off all these lotions and creams and all this stuff that takes so much time to put on their face? And the answer is, ask your parents when they grew out of it. Because it's a combination of genetics and especially during adolescence, the whole hormone changes that are occurring.
Okay.
I do feel like I also want to say I've never noticed it for you, Mike. I think
Thank you.
your skin looks pretty clear from my perspective.
Well, take a look at my schnoz.
Well, the audience can. We got it up here.
Hello. Can you hear it?
This is another thing. Sorry, you were talking about washing your face a lot as a kid so you don't get acne. One thing I feel like I heard more, maybe it's because I'm a hypochondriac and I would go too far in the extreme from my parents, was not to wash my face too much. Not like with soap and water, but they'd always say that then your body produces...
Wash it with what, though, then?
Excess. Sorry, I meant with soap and water. Yeah. Your body would produce excess oil, and that would cause further problems. Is this a real thing, or is this a myth?
It's not a myth about the whole idea of producing more oil, but it may be a myth that is going to cause you acne.
Okay.
Right? Because there's something... The issue with acne and oil is that some people inherently have oil that makes these sticky plugs, right? So you're getting, the bottle is getting stuck with the plug, can't get out, kind of a thing. But if your oil happens to be slippery and you make more of it, you just have an oily face.
Okay, and that's not going to necessarily cause more acne.
Correct.
Okay.
But the plug if you get plugged up, that's acne, is what you're saying. In
Right.
Your metaphor.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Just to be clear on it.
Be really clear. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes I don't finish my metaphors, but
Yeah.
so thank you for clearing that up.
And so then that just comes back to genetics again, possibly, on what kind of oily skin you have. Because I feel like I see products that just, broadly say for oily skin or for dry skin.
Right.
Is this an actual genetic difference? Are there only 2 types of skins in the world?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a big spectrum, and it's funny because as part of a normal acne regimen, right? You were mentioning, Mike, what would I recommend for the 32-year-old? It's the same thing I would recommend for the 16-year-old, right? Is a combination. You need something that unplugs those pores, and you need something that's going to treat the bumps as they happen, because there's nothing that will 100% clear up every pore. Most of the things that are clearing up pores or opening up pores and getting rid of oil will dry out our face.
Okay.
And therefore, some people will have dry face regardless of the fact that they have acne or they don't. And then some people will have it just because of the medicines we're putting them on. And not, whether you're getting different name brands, Cetaphil, CeraVe, whatever.
Cetaphil.
Right. Right.
We were trying to remember
I was like, what do I use? I've been using it for years. I'm like, what?
For some people, they put it on and it makes them oilier. And for some, they put it on and it gives them the moisture they need so they don't get oilier. So I think the difficulty is there's no one great product for anybody. You kind of have to try which ones are working for you.
Well, and that's kind of, I'm like, okay, do I stick with this when this happens? Or I'm like, should I try something new? Or is it like you just start, then you get into this like cyclone of just like, what do I do?
Well, this is what was so overwhelming for me is I'd look into it and they're like, you got to buy this and then you got to put like a cleanser and a moisturizer and then the order that you put it on. And some people have masks and everything. And it was getting a lot, but
there's, it's even better now because there's a lot of things that were not, that were only available prescription-wise that are now over-the-counter. And, for just the baseline, it doesn't have to be so complicated.
Okay.
But it can become complicated because you have all these products you have to put on your face.
Yeah.
And I don't have an hour every morning to put everything on, right?
Yeah.
I wash my face, I put on the product, I let it dry, I put another product on, then I put on my moisturizer, then I put on my makeup, then I go to work, right?
Yeah, this is it.
and then at nighttime, we're all getting in late. It's 3 a.m. We just turned off the Xbox. It's I don't got to wash my face, got to put on my product. No, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah. So if you were to simplify it, if an unnamed 23-year-old came into your office
or a very named 32-year-old
and was like, I just want to buy one thing. That's all. Like, what would be the most important thing? Maybe this is too broad, but like cosmetically preventative,
So we're not really talking about acne so much, right? We're
just
talking
for
about
just for general skincare. Sorry, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. I got a lot of skincare questions.
That's cool. So I think there's a couple of questions there, and I'll try to answer them individually.
Yeah.
Right. So what one thing should I do for skincare, right? And I think is avoiding soaps for our face and only using cleansers, right? And there's this difference between soaps and cleansers according to what you can find at the pharmacy or store. Soaps will really strip your skin of oils, and your body needs oils to trap in the moisture. And if you're too oily and you're using a soap to strip off the oils, then just like your parents said, you're going to produce more oil. Okay. So you have to, for a good skin regimen, using a cleanser and then using a moisturizing product. And I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about brands or if that makes any difference, right? But
we can't do like a call to action, like go buy this.
Go buy this, right? But I really like the CeraVe products because they are low, unlikely to give you an allergy. Okay. And also they're just very gentle on the skin, and and they make them for oily skin versus non-oily skin. So I think what they do with those products is that they really do use things that help reduce oil production, and without stripping the skin of the oils to the point that they're going to dry out. So using a ceravating, a cleanser followed by a moisturizer. It'd be great if that moisturizer in the morning had sunscreen in it, and in the evening it doesn't. And a lot of these companies, whether it's Cetaphil or CeraVe or Eucerin or Lubriderm or whomever, do make morning products and evening products. I think we can overdo it with sunscreen, especially during the winter. We don't really need it around here. I mean, how much sun am I getting?
Yeah,
Right.
I definitely don't overdo it, but it is nice to know that I am.
You're like, I've never put it on.
I'm playing it safe. You know.
Right. And during the summer, use it because we get hot summers and that type of thing. But I think that we can talk about sunscreens later. But as far as a regimen, that would be the main key, because what really makes our faces age is radiation.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So the sunscreen there is acting as a preventative, or at least, slowing down that effect.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And when I really think about this question, I've thought about it a lot over the years. The two things that are the most important for our skin is to remain well hydrated and not be
literally
burned.
drink water.
Literally drink water.
Okay.
And
So
exactly.
from the inside out health.
The inside out is good, and then the outside in is good.
Okay.
Is coffee hydrating?
I think it's actually, isn't that actually dehydrating?
I don't know. I don't think I've actually drank any water today.
Okay. I do have some questions about sunscreen, but before we move on from the cleanser, what exactly is the difference between a soap and a cleanser, if that's not a dumb question?
Yeah.
Because they sound kind of like they do the same thing.
Right. I think especially in America, we equate dryness with cleanliness. Right? Our skin has to feel tight.
Yeah.
And it feels clean. Right?
Yeah.
But
I think I'm guilty of this.
Right.
Sometimes when my hands feel a little like sticky, I'm like dirty, filthy.
Right. and when we feel like our skin is oily, we feel dirty.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to strip the oils off so we feel dry and clean. But they're not synonymous, but we believe they are. So the difference between a cleanser, I don't know what the chemical difference is from that standpoint, but certainly the soap is going to be more emulsifying, right? And so it really gets rid of oils better than a cleanser. And the cleanser has less of that oil stripping capability.
Okay.
So we have to get used to the idea that we're not necessarily going to feel tight and dry in order to feel clean.
Yeah. Wow, that felt like kind of a personal attack. I think I do suffer from this.
Well, wake up, Jane.
Wake up, people.
Yeah. Get a grip and stop using that Dove hand bar soap to wash your face. Christ.
I do. Yeah, I know this is bad to admit, but I think for when I'm in the shower,
You do not.
I think
Stop.
I
won't listen to this.
not a bar soap, but I do just use the same thing on my body as my face. Are they different sensitivities for?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I mean, we're all covered with skin, but it is. I mean, we're all of us are covered for our whole body with skin, but the skin in different places
requires
different
You
processes.
learned that one in kindergarten.
I mean, I think it's not super obvious. It does feel like the exact same skin.
Right.
And I guess our face often is more exposed. But is there also? I'm guessing there's also like chemical differences. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of it has to do with how many hair follicles there are on our bodies.
Oh, really?
Right.
I didn't know that.
At different places, because it's the hair follicles that have the oils that are secreted to make this nice layer of oil across our skin to trap everything good inside and not let it out. And so that's a big part of it. And so how many hair follicles per square inch of the body and that kind of stuff. I don't have a whole lot of hair follicles on the palm of my hand, so my hands are going to dry out a lot quicker than say my face is. And that's not a great parallelism because I'm not using my face to pick up anything and I'm not washing my hands face all the time like I wash the hands. But
so does the beard contribute? Would beard contribute to oiliness on the face?
Well, just whether you have a beard or you don't have a beard.
The fact that we have.
But the fact that we have
the
facial hair
there.
follicles, right?
Okay. Interesting. Anyway.
Well.
Okay, so now back to the sunscreen.
Well.
Which this is a tip that I feel like everyone's like, this is the most basic one. And then I'm like, stop telling me that. I don't want to put it on. You know, I don't know. I associate sunscreen with like the beach, as we established earlier. Yes. But as Mike mentioned, the sun is not only at the beach. The sun is every day of the year. And so for just general use, you're not going to be, you know, laying out in the beach with your whole body. What like SPF would you recommend for daily sunscreen?
Can I guess before you answer?
Yeah, please do.
30. SPF 30.
You are exactly right.
Yes. Wow, is that? Am I missing a memo? Is everybody know that it's 30 SPF?
When you turn 30, just know.
I bumped up.
Now it's 32.
Yeah, every year you have to go up one. What does SPF stand for? Is this
Isn't
a dumb
the
question?
amount of time it lasts, or is that the?
So it's called SPF is sun protection factor.
Okay.
Right, and it's kind of a paradox. That's not the word. It is misleading.
Okay.
Because the SPF of 30 will block 97% of the sun's rays.
Okay.
For, on average, 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Such a short time.
Such a short time.
Such a pain in the butt to keep putting it on.
And the interesting thing too is that all of the sunscreens work the same, right? They all have the same effectiveness, but there's one company that has a monopoly on a stabilizing factor, which is Neutrogena.
Oh, Neutrogena.
They have something called Helioplex, and so purportedly theirs last longer. So instead of putting it on once every 2 to 3 hours, you can put it on once every 4 or 5 hours. So for us procrastinators that don't like to reapply, right?
Has anyone taken this to the hill? Kind of break up this monopoly on
right? I mean,
whatever it is.
The Helioplex?
Helioplex,
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, wow. That's impressive. Yeah.
That's good. That's the 23-year-old brain. Yeah. It's quicker.
But I've already got that 50-year-old skin, you know?
We weren't saying that.
Okay,
so yeah, the basic minimum is 15. Yeah. Because it blocks 94% of the sun's rays, 30, 97, 50. You'd think it's almost double, right? Mm-hmm. But it goes up to 98, right? And you're already at the top of the curve.
It's diminishing returns from
diminishing returns. I mean, what is an SPF 100?
Yeah.
It's not twice 50 because that'd be 196%.
Yeah.
So it's probably 98.5.
You're actually reversing, reflecting the sun rays back out.
Warming up the planet with your...
The only reason some people ask me, should I get an SPF 80 or should I get an SPF 100? And the answer is, if you are minimalizing how much product you're using on your skin, then get 100 because it's probably working as good as a 50 because you're just not putting enough on from that standpoint. But 30 is the baseline.
Okay. And see, I feel like I have a lot of dumb questions.
No.
So when we're talking this sunscreen, I feel like when people market sunscreen, it's often marketed in this beach way, and the smell, for me at least, is very reminiscent of that. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that a lot of these products include sunscreen. Is there a different, are there more regular daily sunscreen creams that are different from like beach sunscreen, if that makes sense?
Yeah, there isn't.
Okay.
Right. They're pretty much all the same. But the real question is, when should we be using sunscreen? Because there's a big push to use it all the time. Mm-hmm. But really, the sun we want.
Is that just coming from big sunscreen?
Yeah, it's like big pharma, right?
Yeah.
Big sunscreen.
Yeah. Just like, hey, you gotta put this on all the time, or else you're gonna incinerate.
I think we have to think about it really in a practical fashion. The biggest amount of sun, the toughest sun, the strongest sun is going to come between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. Here in the Midwest, right? It's going to be different south.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's going to be different north.
Yeah. Those places where they only get 1 hour of sun. It's be a little different.
Yeah. And for that kind of sun, that's the sun we need to be protected from. or from which we need to be
That
protected.
intense period, yeah.
time period. And so do we really need to put it as a part of our daily regimen so that we get up at 7 in the morning and by 10 in the morning it's actually not working anymore? Right? Because it only has a 3-hour lifespan.
Yeah.
And maybe that lifespan is a little bit greater if you're not being exposed to a whole lot of sun, so maybe it lasts a little bit longer, but really you have to work within that time frame that it's only 3 hours. So I think that whether we're working outdoors or we're at the beach, if you're in intense sunlight, either way, that's when you're going to want to use the sunscreen.
Okay.
Are you still asking about sunscreen?
Yeah, I have
Keep
more
going.
sunscreen questions.
Because I have one after. But
So this we don't really have to get into. It's not as important. But I am curious. So the way sunscreen works then is just this protective film, essentially, that UV is slowly breaking down in the same way it would break down your skin? Or is it,
Is that it's breaking down, or is that kind of like wearing off? Just kind of like...
It seems like the radiation actually deteriorates the screening chemicals.
Oh.
Right? So what we haven't talked about is there is a difference between sunscreen and sunblock.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I mean...
I do want to know about this.
Right? But sunscreen, it's actually deteriorating those chemicals. And this is why Helioplex stabilizes those chemicals. And so it lasts for a longer period of time.
Sunblock.
Okay. So then what is sunblock?
Sunblock is more what you're talking about. Is this a physical block? And the answer is yes, it's a physical block.
Like an umbrella?
Like an umbrella.
Okay, so these are separate products that you can buy and use for different occasions. Are there different occasions in which you might prefer one over the other?
There are different reasons to use them. I don't know if it's so much a different occasion, but so like the sunblock is...
What's sorry, can you give an example of like what is a sunblock?
So zinc oxide,
okay,
that they use for like baby bottom white cream, right? That kind of stuff. So that's the same zinc oxide that would be in sunblock products. There's two sunblocks out there, zinc oxide and titanium oxide. Titanium oxide is new in the last 10 or 15 years. And that's more of a clear block versus the old, remember the movies and the pictures from the 50s and 60s where it's like white on the nose, like that.
Right?
Or
SpongeBob, they'd do that. He always puts it white on the nose.
Right, exactly.
Forget the 50s. We're talking early 2000s underwater animated shows.
They're underwater, too, which they always told me the sun can still get you underwater. So
Isn't that where it gets you most?
And under the umbrella on the beach.
Oh, right? Really?
On a cloudy day.
Yeah. They always say on a cloudy day. They're like...
You can't escape it.
Well,
that's why you got to wear it at all times.
Well, I think kids especially are always looking for excuses not to put it on. And they want to get in the water immediately.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, well.
Okay, so that's a sunblock.
That's a sunblock.
Okay.
And they wear off in the same period of time, 2 to 3 hours. And I would have to imagine that it's just kind of disintegrating of its own accord.
Yeah. And you mentioned the 50s. Is this something that's fallen out of popularity in favor of sunblock?
I think so, because in the 50s, 60s, 70s, right, where they had big white noses and that kind of stuff, the lifeguard had the big white thing on there. Not cosmetically pleasing.
And
unless you're into that.
And these days we're on camera all the time, we gotta
we gotta look nice. People aren't gonna judge us.
Yeah. Although maybe I would have trusted you more if you came in with just like a white nose. I'd be like, that's
just be like,
yeah. This is a bit of a, again, maybe not a useful question, but just out of interest. You mentioned, the summer versus the winter. Isn't it true, I could be wrong here, that the actual direction of the rays in the summer and winter is different, and that it actually hits the skin at a different angle, and a lot of people attribute this as to why there's seasonal depression and things like that. First of all, is that true? And then second, does that affect the need for sunscreen?
So I think that you're right that the rays are hitting the earth at different angles, right? And there's straight down or from the side. I mean, I'm really not good on space. But
I thought you were an astrophysicist as well.
Yeah.
I thought we were getting a double win.
Dermatologist.
But you're exactly right?
Okay.
You're going to definitely have more damaging rays during the summer than you are the winter, and a lot less light. And light does activate the cones and the rods in the back of the eye, right?
Those cones and rods.
Right, and with it increases serotonin production. So, and serotonin being the happy hormone of the body.
Yeah.
So there is a true thing called seasonal affective disorder.
Okay.
And so people get kind of moody or irritable in the winter, not because it's cold or dry, but because they're just not getting enough light in their eyes. And so one of the accepted treatments for it is actually light boxes.
Yeah.
So you sit in front of a light box for 15 minutes in the morning, and you feel better for the day. So
there you are.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that distracted a little bit from skin, but I was just
No.
thinking in the winter, summer.
Interesting train of thought.
Right, and maybe a good reason not to use sunscreen during the winter.
Yeah.
Right, if you're not, because you're not really getting as much damaging rays unless you're a winter sports guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But then even then,
some intense.
Because you can still get
cross-country
burned
skiing.
in the winter, right?
right. From
the
skiing
sun
down
reflecting off the snow,
in
right?
your swimsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, people are going to get not only wind burn, but they're going to get sunburn on their face and that type of thing, depending on how much protection they have when they're skiing or other sports.
And so before we move away from cosmetics and maybe talk a little bit about health, we've talked a lot about products that you should get or ones that people do use. Is there any product that you've either encountered people using that you're like, what are you doing? Or something that you just outright don't recommend for people or think maybe is even damaging that you often see people using?
You mean on the sunscreen?
For sunscreen,
Skincare
for
in
any
general, or-
product that you're just like, I don't know why this is so popular. It's just a fad or it's actually damaging.
Stop crushing up Tylenol and rubbing it on
Yeah.
your skin. Type thing.
Is that a thing? Was that ever?
No, I just made
Oh, okay.
It's funny you mention it because
you're like, I do that.
I would recommend.
If you're not doing it, you're behind.
no, because it's funny because aspirin is salicylic acid, which is the main ingredient in most of the washes made for acne.
Oh, really?
So I imagine you could take aspirin and crush it up and make a slurry, right, and put it on your face. But I wouldn't recommend that. So, not I don't think there's a whole lot out there.
Are face masks actually as helpful? Like
you mean like those old Ronald Reagan masks that people were wearing?
Like the cucumber on the eyes.
And then like, what do they put? What are those made of?
Well, they do like mud ones too.
Like the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a role for face masks, and some people will use them as a moisturizer. Okay. Some people will use them as there's a glycolic acid as an ingredient in some of these face masks, which is a nice exfoliant. There's room for exfoliants in the whole acne control thing, but also it helps smooth the skin and reduce the coarseness and the texture. So using one of those once a week or a couple times a month or something of that sort can just make the skin feel more glowing and smooth.
Should I shave before I do that?
Yeah.
Or,
no, I don't think you'd have to.
Okay.
Yeah. It won't eat your. It won't.
It won't.
It will get where it needs to go. And the nice thing about wearing a beard is that you have a little bit more sun protection.
There we are.
Right, and you're warmer in the winter.
Okay, writing that down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Grow a beard.
All to our bearded friends.
This is also a term I hear a lot, exfoliation.
Mm-hmm.
What is that exactly? And pores and opening up your pores. I don't know what these mean. What is this jargon?
Yeah, so exfoliation, all of us have a bunch of layers of skin, right? And the lower layers are alive and the top layers are dead, and so we have a lot of this dead skin. There's some statistic out there that we lose like 30 pounds of dead skin in our beds every year or something crazy like that.
This is a whole new me, a little baby of skin. Sorry, that was gross.
It's a big baby. Jeez. Yeah,
my mom said I was 30 pounds. So that was
But the whole idea of exfoliation is the idea that we have this dead skin that we can remove, and it will help in the whole moisturization process, right? You can't water a dead log and expect it to grow, right? So you need to get off the dead stuff so you can nourish the good stuff.
That's exfoliation.
And that's exfoliation.
Okay.
And that's when you use one of those like pad or exfoliating pads or something like that, or
Right. There's all kind of levels of that. You can use an exfoliate pad. You can use the sugar scrubs. You can use the more chemical, like glycolic acid type of exfoliators. People use loofahs and that type of thing.
Okay.
Be careful how hard you scrub with those things.
right.
Okay. Yeah, and now we're getting a little bit into that complicated factor that scared me away.
Do you feel good about
Yeah.
pores? Okay.
But when the question I was going to ask, which again, this is the stuff that turned me away from skincare, is so you would do the exfoliation before you did that cleanser moisturizer.
Right. I'd probably do the cleanser and then the exfoliator and then the moisturizer.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. If we're going to be adding slowly products, but we're at the
Right.
base of cleanser and moisturizer and sunscreen. This is already too much. I'm giving up
That's
already.
that's not the right attitude.
Okay.
I mean,
so,
I think to your point, I think that you could use the cleanser and the moisturizer, and then once a week use a mask that has an exfoliant in it.
and that one doesn't have to be as regular.
Right.
Okay.
What's this take? 5 minutes in the morning to wash.
Well, if you're waiting for
exfoliate?
things to dry and your
What's got to dry?
your
hair?
face?
Is that what you're talking about? Well, use a towel, right? I mean,
Okay. And so it didn't seem like there was really a product that you were just wholesale, do not use this, that you commonly see at least.
Not necessarily in the younger population, right?
Okay.
In the older population, I would say that there's a product that's used not commonly, but there's something, it's called like black salve, and it's an acid that some people use to remove moles and cancers and things that like that. And there's a place for everything, and I'm pretty open when it comes to alternative medicines and that type of thing. I don't feel like it's a us and them kind of a
Sure.
thing. It's just like everybody works together, and that kind of stuff. But just don't put it where it doesn't belong.
Okay.
Don't put it on your nose and not expect it to eat off your nose.
oh my
Okay.
god.
Kind of thing. And so
He's very sensitive to the nose things.
I am. Well, God, at this age.
Black, what's it called? Black
Black salve.
salve.
That sounds like the start of like Black Sabbath. It's
Yeah.
almost what you're like not finishing it. Like Black Sabbath.
Okay. So it sounds like if you are going to be there are things that are more intense on your skin than others, but that's going to be really dependent on your genetic makeup in a way, and that's when you might go see a dermatologist and they might advise something stronger that's not over the counter.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, one of the things that is very helpful at preserving skin. So we talked about doing things we can do to prevent skin damage. There's also a product that a lot of people use. They start probably in their late 20s, early 30s, and that's something called retin-a.
Okay.
And you might have heard of it.
Is this
I don't think I have.
I think is this the same as retinol, or are these
Very similar.
Okay.
So retinol is the over-the-counter variety of the prescription retin-a.
Okay.
And presumably they actually work fairly, equivalent. And retinol is oftentimes a lot less irritating. Retin-a is used in acne to unplug pores and also to help exfoliation.
Okay.
So there's the crossover effect here,
Yeah.
but retinol or retin-a, and I might have used the other word too, tretinoin. Did I use that word? Anyhow,
No, I don't.
so that's the generic name for retin-a. The nice thing about tretinoin or retin-a or retinol is that it has some effects to reduce the radiation effects on the skin. It improves the elasticity of the skin. The whole problem with radiation is that sometimes breaks down the elasticity of the skin,
Oh,
and so
yeah?
people get more wrinkles,
Okay.
and this skin becomes, I don't know,
Okay.
not so taut and that type of thing. So
So is this something you actually recommend?
Mhm.
Tretinoin? Okay.
or retinol.
Okay.
If
Right,
you need it.
So I mean, tretinoin is the prescription thing, so you have to go to the doctor for
Okay.
that. But
Like
And-
you, doctor, or like my standard?
And
Yeah.
what would it take
Yes.
though?
both.
Both. Okay.
Yes, and what would it take then to get that? What are they looking for when you're asking for a prescription for that? Not saying that I'm trying to lie, but
like, do you have to be in pretty?
yeah,
pretty
like do you have to
tough
be dealing with a
straits
certain
with
problem?
You really don't, because it's kind of like, what do you need to do in order to get on an exercise program?
Hmm.
Do you have to have something a problem? No, it's all preventative. So you can go into your
Oh.
doctor and say, hey, you know what? I just want to prevent myself from getting wrinkles early and age spots early, and I just want to
Oh.
have a nice, a clearer complexion. And they say, oh, here you go.
Okay.
Because there's really no risk to it, except, the risk to it is don't use it while you're trying to get pregnant, right? If you
Okay.
absorb this stuff, presumably it can be dangerous to
Yeah.
the fetus. But other than that,
Yeah.
there's really no great risk to it. It can increase your sensitivity to the sun, but if you're already doing this regimen, then you don't have to worry about it.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
That's definitely, I've heard that. Someone was like, this is the one thing you need.
Who'd
And I'm
you-
always kind of
where'd you hear
scared.
this? For someone who's like, I never thought about my skin before. And then you're just like, but people are telling me about tretinoids and retinins all the time.
I've been curious about it, and and it's always been unofficially, but now I have an official person who's
But
like,
there you
it's
are.
okay.
It's okay. It's good stuff.
But you heard it before.
But I have heard that before. But I don't want to mess around.
At the playground.
It feels so like scary, I'm going to
Yeah.
burn something off, like my nose.
Well, let's not do that, Jane.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these have been dealing with cosmetics. I think there is a lot of crossover with health and with preventative damage. But I also want to talk a little bit about when it comes to preventative things for cancer or cancer screening. I know for certain cancers, there's a lot of self-checkups you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you recommend even like someone in their 20s look out for? Or is this something that you shouldn't worry about until you're, 30? No, I'm kidding.
Certainly, the more common thing is that an older person is a person who's going to get the cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Probably the earliest I've ever seen a skin cancer on a person was 15 years old,
Okay.
and that was once like 25 years ago.
Oh.
Wow.
So so there's three main kinds of skin cancer, and so the most common ones: basal cell, which there's like 30 million cases every year in the United States, and squamous cell cancer, which there's like 2 to 5 million. Those are going to be the ones that are going to happen because of the sun exposure we got, and normally that doesn't show up until we're in our 50s and 60s, right? Sometimes 70s or 80s, but that's not going to happen to the 23-year-old.
Okay.
Right. Melanoma is the killer, the one we all talk about, and we try to encourage, educate the society about how to look for that, because that can happen at any age, but predominantly if it's going to happen in young people, it's because your parents had melanoma,
Okay.
right? Or your sibling had melanoma or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Those folks should be having their skin exams earlier than the rest of us. Any of us can be a mutant, right? And develop this gene that is associated with melanoma. But if you're getting melanoma because you've just been in the sun too much as a kid, you're not going to see that really showing up until 50s, 60s.
Okay.
With the rest
And so
of
that's something you might already be aware of or are waiting for. In the case of melanoma, you would hopefully be aware of your genetic history.
You hope, right?
What would what would signs of that be? That's just like bumps on your skin or something, or?
Right. So you're talking about melanoma, right? So melanoma is what a bad mole will turn into.
Okay.
So predominantly, it's not there's a lot of different kinds of moles, right?
Yeah.
There's like these flesh-colored moles, the same color as my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the moles that are going to have the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
more
got brown moles.
brown moles are the problem.
Okay.
Right? Sorry, your host. Life is
yes,
over.
that's a problem. You should-
Okay.
Well, I feel like they're also kind of normal. Like, everyone gets them.
Right. And so all of us essentially have the same number of mole cells per square inch, right? They're different than the normal skin cells. But some families just produce more of these, or get these mole cells to turn into true mole structures. And it's just a very natural reaction to sun exposure and life. And most of the time, people with brown moles are going to be fine. They're,
Right.
from that
Yeah.
standpoint.
Do you get a lot of kind of hypochondriac? People coming in with just like any old mole being like, is this okay? Is this normal? Or do you actually recommend that? Do you recommend if there's something that is catching your attention that maybe you should come in?
Yeah, super good question, because it leads back to the question you had, which is how do we do our own skin exams?
Mm-hmm.
And what am I looking for? I've got 1,000 moles. How am I going to pay attention to all of them at the same time, and which ones are changing? And it's the change that you're looking for. Right? We've talked about for years the A, B, C, D, E of melanoma.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this? So A is for asymmetry, B is for border, C is for color, D is for diameter.
I don't think I've heard that.
Yeah. And
Well, it's two people who haven't met a dermatologist.
It's
so
true.
that makes sense, yeah.
I was saying but I hadn't heard of it.
So
Oh, yeah, you ABs.
So an E is evolving, and so the evolving, the change in any of those 4 characteristics. So back to asymmetry, if it's round, you can cut it in half, it matches up, that's symmetry. But if it looks like the United States, there's no place you can cut it and actually fold it over and make it all be the same.
I got one of those.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
You have one that looks like the United States?
Well, it's like a frog that's missing a couple legs. But, yeah.
B is border. It's if it looks jagged like a ninja star. C is color. If there's more than 2 colors, or if they're radically different, those 2 colors. If it looks like a yin-yang sign, right? That's a little weird. But and then
not peaceful and a good sign.
Right. Exactly.
You see that?
Probably a bad metaphor, but, analogy. And then D is diameter. If it's changing in size very quickly, if it used to be the size of a pencil eraser, now it's the size of a nickel.
Okay.
Right? There's a problem.
And is diameter and evolving, are those related, I guess?
And evolving is the whole change, right? The
Okay.
change in diameter, the change in color, the change in
Okay.
boundary. Recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, many people have wanted to use the letter F with this, right? The A, B, D, C, E, F.
Yeah.
And F is for funny looking.
Right. I was going to say forget about it.
Okay.
But and so when we do our skin exams, we recommend that folks get out of the shower once a month. Once a month when you get out of the shower, you just look in the mirror. What are you looking for? You're looking for nothing. You're just looking, right? And your body your brain will kind of memorize the patterns that it sees. And if you have somebody who loves you, can watch your back for you, that's even better.
Yeah.
The one day you'll wake up and you say, pointing at your chest, I don't remember that looking that way before, or I don't remember even that being there before. 80% of new melanomas or skin cancers will come from a new mole, not a mole that has been there all of our lives.
Okay.
And so, it's kind of like me driving down my street. I will become familiar with all the cars that are parking there, but one day I'll come home and I'll recognize somebody's got some guests there. And I can't tell you the plates of all the other cars, but I can tell you that car is not part of my normal life. And it's the same idea with moles.
Okay.
So that I tell you that whole big spiel to answer your question. The answer is yes. If you see something funny looking on your arm and you kind of freaks you out and you want to know what it is, bring it in.
Check it out, yeah.
It's never a stupid question.
There's never a stupid mole concern.
So you go through your ABCs, which hopefully you know up to F, and then move on from there.
Right. And G is if you don't pay attention to the A, B, C, D, E, F, then I gotcha.
Okay, this is all very helpful. Do you have any other closing questions?
Well, when can you fit me in for an appointment,
Yeah.
Jack? That's the question.
As soon as we turn off the mic.
Great. Hit the lights.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Andrew.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're so welcome and so happy to be here and happy to
Yeah.
come back anytime.
Yeah. This has been very informative and helpful. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Don't Say Adulting. Don't say it.
No.
We'll see you guys next time with a new
Till next time.
new topic about adulting.
Just you wait.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Don't Say Adulting is a Grotto Network podcast produced by Jane O'Connor, Mike Rossetti, Kevin DeClute, and Josh Long. Additional production editing done by Kevin DeClute. Graphics and animation by Becky Rogers. Grotto Network is Director Javi Zubizarreta, Senior Producer Josh Long, Senior Content Editor Jesse McCartney, Art Director Becky Rogers, Senior Manager for Community Engagement Mike Rossetti, Social Media Manager Adrian Garaldi, Web Content Strategist Michaela Douglas, Producer Kevin DeClute, Associate Producer Jane O'Connor. Special thanks to our guest and Notre Dame Studios.